Welcome to another episode of Fuck Your Job. I'm Ron Worley.
And I'm Josh Fullenwider.
Fuck your job.
Hi guys, Josh Fullenwider.
Ron Worley. We're in the same clothes.
Yeah. They don't know. For them, it's been a week.
We should change his shirts and stuff. Just okay.
Well, and that's why I'm like, I tossed most of my dress clothes after I quit banking. So then we started doing a podcast. I'm like, well, I own two nice polos, and that's it. So I'm like, people have seen me in the blue and green and white polo a lot. So
yeah,
I'll wear my flannel today.
I like it, man.
So it looks a little different.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Shit, I forgot.
We're talking about selling a business.
Selling a business.
Yes.
So getting ready and then the actual process of selling a business.
So I've sold a few. If we go way back, I sold my fence company to a buddy of mine when I was done doing fencing. Short stint in that. I think I did that like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But I had brought up an employee that was also my really good friend, and basically he bought it from me. He still runs it today.
Good.
So and now recently, Aaron and I sold our Max Muscle stores, all three of them, starting. I think we started selling them in 2015. I think the key to selling a business is the same key as to opening a business.
Okay.
What's your exit strategy?
All right.
And that's something we don't think of when we're opening a business, but you should always have one. And what is the dollar amount? What is the goal? When am I going to sell? And for Aaron and I, we had a goal. We were going to sell we had four at one time. We sold one off, and then we were going to sell the other three. It was a time-based thing. Problem is that it takes a long time to sell your businesses. Especially in some areas, it's really a small market.
Right.
And the best way we found is to go to your friends, family, and employees. We marketed to our customers base too. Just, hey, we're selling.
Yeah, I mean, you told me you guys were going to sell at some point.
Yeah.
Rebecca and I were like, well, we don't know shit about nutrition. Let's not do that.
Yeah, but you thought about it. And you may know somebody and all
Right.
that. We tried hiring a broker, and he wanted a bunch of money.
10%, I bet.
Yeah. Actually, he might have even been more, if I remember right. But it was a lot of money, and he didn't give us anybody that was...
Yeah, he was going to put it on his website,
Yep.
Biz by Sell, and that's probably it.
Yep. And by the end of it, we ended up selling two of them to friends at the time, and then the other one to an employee. And that's the best way to do it, because they see the value in the businesses. But if you're packaging a business like to get it ready for sale, there's a lot of little tricks you can do to show your profit, because hopefully, like Aaron and I, we had to force ourselves to make profit. We didn't want profit. That you got to pay taxes on profit. So we spent a lot of that money on the business, and we spent a lot of that money on payroll. And
there's some other tricks like paying for cars and paying for gym memberships for what you were doing.
Right, exactly. And so we ended up backing all that back out, and then calling them add backs. So you got the business is not profitable, and then you add back all the expenses you're paying for your personal stuff, or for your, like Aaron's payroll, or her paychecks, what's that called? Salary, thank you, was added back in, because the owner is going to get to decide what they want to do with that money. We paid for her car, her insurance, all of our gym memberships, toilet paper, you name it. It was paid through the company, and we just got to add it back. But
and you probably could write off food and nutrition and
a lot of that, yeah,
because that was
clothing,
your business,
right? Yeah, and so there's this thing called EBITDA, which help me with the acronym. It's
earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
There you go.
Used it a lot in banking.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And every time we get a loan, that's what they would use was EBITDA. So if we break that down for our people, earnings before interest,
which is what you pay on the loan.
Right.
Taxes, obviously.
Yep.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation. So any equipment that you're depreciating on your taxes as well.
Right.
Because that's a phantom expense essentially.
Right.
What you did pay that money for that piece of equipment at some point, but
The new owner isn't.
yeah, the new owner isn't. And amortization is the loan principal that you're paying each month.
Right.
Or that's the big one. The other one could be if you're buying a business, sometime you're buying goodwill,
Yep.
which is, it's a brand out there already. There's not an asset. You're just buying the fact
Right.
that it's established.
Which a lot of companies are. You're buying the goodwill. So our stores, 90% of it was goodwill.
Yeah.
Because we had some crappy old shelving on the walls. That was it. You know. But after we added back in the EBITDA and Aaron's salary, all of a sudden we had a nice healthy profit, and then we multiply that by 5. We did a 5 multiplier. A lot of people do 3 to 5.
Yeah. So banks like a 2.5 multiplier.
What?
2.5 is,
That's some bullshit.
3 is probably standard from a bank's standpoint. Now, the things that go into affecting what your multiplier is, if you've got nothing, like not even a customer list, and you're just selling a business, you're looking at 2.5%. You don't have equipment. That's like your fence company.
Yeah.
You've got, hey, I've got this kind of up and running. I've got kind of a marketing thing going on.
Right.
You know, you've got business. I'm selling you the shovels.
Right.
Like, here
Right.
you go.
Yeah.
2.5 multiplier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Equipment and real estate add a bunch to that.
Yep.
Usually it's priced as what's the value of that plus 2.5% or whatever than that. But if you really want to affect the multiplier, recurring revenue.
Okay.
So memberships and subscriptions, you can get up to a 10 multiplier.
Wow.
Oil and gas industry, one time was selling at 14 multiplier in various things.
man.
That was when oil was at $130 a barrel.
Yeah, that's huge.
So,
We got ours for 5
yeah,
multipliers.
which
on
is
both.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, as a sell side, and it's fair on a buy side. So,
Yeah, and we thought it was fair because we were established. The money, I mean, we had tracked every single year, and the money was, I mean, we're gaining every year. We could pretty much to the tune of 7% a year each store. So it was like, you know, stepped out. So they were guaranteed revenue is what we looked at. Like, you're going to get this much revenue for 5 years.
yeah. Here's what you sold them the system,
Right.
Kind of like we talked about franchising,
Yep.
where you buy into a system,
Right.
Except now they're buying the system plus the fact it's established and running, and there's customers already out there and everything like that.
Yeah, and it's a damn good income too. I
Yeah.
mean, you're buying. So the way we figured it, we did it. How long will it take them to pay it back? Because we did an owner carry on some of it. So if it takes them 5 years to pay it back, that's a hell of an investment. That's a fair investment. Now in 5 years, you've got you got a business paid for that you can now sell for whatever. But B, you're pulling in a hell of a salary, and if you didn't grow it.
Yeah.
So now with bail bonds, I've looked into what would it take to sell it. The multiplier would be much lower because it's all goodwill. But it's one of those things. There's nothing to sell. Like we don't even have ads in the phone book anymore.
Well, you don't even own the building, you're right.
And don't own the building or nothing. No.
Yeah.
But it makes a massive amount of money every year.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you do there? Like, how do you? There's no way to sell that.
Sell it and license yourself back to it. That's
Oh.
part of as part of it. So license your likeness, and then be like, hey, we're selling you this. I'm going to do this for you over the next 5 years. It's now Ron and James Bonds, you know, and James is going to be, eventually it's going to be James's bonds.
Right.
And now all the pictures of you in the newspaper under Ron's bonds, now it's you and James. And
Right. So that's what we did with Jason's bail bonds when we bought him. We got his likeness for 3 years.
Yeah.
But still to this day, people call thinking I'm Jason.
That's fine.
Because his likeness was actually mine. We never put his picture in. We did Jason's bail bonds with my picture. And then
Yeah.
we switched that over to Ron's bonds. And my mother, we keep her likeness in this. Her name is
Yeah.
Alda
Still.
Pauline's. And it's still on the name. People still call for her all the time. She's been out of business 7 years and still. So that's a good idea. So you're actually selling
you
the
got the phone numbers all listed.
Yes.
Like that's a big part of it. You're selling all the phone numbers along with the business, and here's what it is, here's how many, and then you focus on here's how many calls we get each month.
Right.
You know, you're getting this phone number that's set up, and people are used to calling it.
Right. That's true. And the name, the phone number, now also the repeat business. So 90% of my business is repeat clients. I hardly have any new clients. Whereas other companies, it's all new clients. So, different model.
Well, and then you can set it up to track that. Be like, hey, here's my customer files. Come look at them. This guy, he gets tossed in jail every year.
Right.
His uncle gets tossed every other year.
Right.
His sister goes in every 3 months.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good way to find value in there.
And then you build, like, especially in bail bonds, you'd be like, and look, I do the whole family. And, like, I've got all their phone numbers.
Right.
So when he doesn't show, even though the uncle's not on the list, I know that the uncle knows where he's at.
Well, perfect. So I'll sell it to you for $2 million bucks.
I don't want your business.
I'll give you a discount. I want out.
You made too good of money.
I know. So now we're thinking, this is going to get way off topic. So I just met a guy in Arizona, and he's a bail bondsman, and they have much different laws, and they're not trying to get rid of it there. And Arizona's warm.
I thought you were going to Florida.
Arizona's much closer. We could keep our house here, go there in the winters, and be little snowbirds. But I could do little bail bonds, just make some chump change while I'm there,
Yeah.
Golf, bail bonds. Anyway, I digress. So anyways, that's how we've sold our businesses. Now, as a banker, you obviously know EBITDA real well.
Yeah, so the neatest thing a customer ever taught me was, rather than doing ad backs, he owns his company in one LLC, and then he doesn't own that company. He owns the LLC that owns that LLC.
Oh, okay.
So you've got 2 layers of LLCs, and all your dirty expenses is what I call them. All your clothing, cars, all the stuff that you're going to call as ad backs at the end of it doesn't get deducted down here. It gets deducted up here.
Sure.
And that way, when you go to sell it, it's like,
clean.
There's no ad backs. Like, you can see what all my other stuff, here's where it is. It's in a separate tax return. Here's my books. They're clean.
Yeah.
Banks like really clean books, especially when you're trying to, like, get bank financing on something like that. Sellers, or buyers, I should say, buyers won't know because they're not always the most astute on that type of thing unless they've bought and sold businesses in the past. But if they have, they'll know the difference.
Yeah.
If you're working with a broker, the broker will know the difference.
Right.
So,
Well, and then you can make all the profit you want that way too, because you can deduct it up here.
yeah. So at one point I was financing somebody who was using a broker to sell their business, and they ended up canceling the contract with the broker. The broker was interested in the commission check.
Right.
He was not interested in getting them the best deal. He was not, and they would come to me and they'd be like, well, he's saying, like, we were under the impression that we were selling the business, and then that new person would have to get their own loan to pay off we were selling the business for $2 million. We have $1 million in financing. Therefore, we need to sell the business for $3 million. Right?
Yeah.
Get everything. We want $2 million at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The broker brought him a $2 million thing. I said, great. Let him refinance the trucks or whatever,
Right.
And the broker's like, well, no, it's just $2 million.
Oh no.
They're like, that's
missing
not
the
even,
point.
that's a third.
Right.
The difference to the broker was significant. I mean, that's $100,000 difference to the
Yeah.
broker, but he knew he could sell it and still get the $200,000.
Right. Wow. So you got to watch your broker
Yeah.
too, man.
So the broker, and I think with the ad backs on that one, I think they were at a 2.5, maybe 3 multiplier.
Okay.
But they had contracts with everybody and a ton of recurring revenue. And yeah, I wasn't as astute back then as I am now, but I looked at it and I'm like, they're getting a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, the buyer's getting a hell of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, because after you pay your broker and off the finances, they only got $800,000. Now pay taxes. You got shit.
Yeah.
You know what? That's funny you say that, because that was a shock to me when we sold the last Max Muscle store. You pay all your taxes out of the entire sale up front. So, and then you pay taxes on if you do an owner finance. So we get a down payment. That down payment was
There's
the
your
taxes.
taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're waiting on the rest of it, and then we're getting taxed on the interest that we're charging. So we really we're paying half our money to the government.
So as a seller, you can do a stock sale versus an asset sale. Buyers probably won't go for it. A buyer should not buy a business via a stock sale. And then it's a capital gains tax versus regular income tax. And capital gains is like 20% versus if you sell $1 million business, now you're looking at 35.
Yeah. So actually we did do a capital gains tax on that.
Okay.
But we had to pay for the whole lump sum up front, which 20%, that's about right.
Yeah. And
So-
that's still a big chunk of change. But that's one way to save yourself some money
Yeah.
on the sell side. And if your people had been financing with me, I would have said, I'm your friend, Ron, but I would have said, don't accept Ron's stock sale. Because when you buy
Yeah.
and you buy a business that has on a stock sale, you are buying all the history of the business.
Right.
So all the liability of the business. You are buying if somebody bought a product a year ago, has it, and dies from it, you have bought that liability. So it didn't even happen with them.
Right.
But, and you see this with like construction companies. You buy a fence, there's a fence company. If you had built a fence and it falls over and kills somebody, and the guy bought it on a stock sale, now he's liable for that death, not you.
Wow.
So
Okay.
great if you're selling because you can reduce your taxes.
Right.
Terrible if you're buying.
There's no way that I sold stocks of our company because they did their own LLC
If they didn't,
and all
then
that.
it was probably an asset sell if they they had their own LLC.
Okay. But I know we didn't pay
Your
that.
lawyer probably would have recommended an asset sell too.
Yeah.
So.
But our accountant did we did a capital gains tax.
Okay.
So, but maybe it's only, is it capital gains on the profit?
Yeah.
So that's probably what it was.
Yeah. Your accountant, I'm sure, worked it so it was.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of
Yeah.
capital built in from all the money we put in over the years and all that too. So we were able to keep that. Supposedly, we got to get paid though. When you're on a owner finance, you're not guaranteed to get paid. If it goes out of business, you're done.
Right.
Yeah. Got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
We found some really good people. So the first two people that bought the first two stores, Loveland, Fort Collins, they actually sold within a year to someone else. So we got paid off.
Yeah.
And then this last one, we've got the employee, and he's not going anywhere. He's a badass. So him and his wife, they're badass.
Yeah.
So we'll get.
Well, they're doing amazing things with that store now.
Yeah.
I mean,
they bought a gym. And,
Yeah.
yeah, they're killing it.
They're going to, I could see them building a regional nutrition and gym company.
Yeah.
And just expanding all over northern Colorado.
You know what's funny about that is that they live in Texas, though.
What?
Yeah.
I see them up here all the time.
Yeah, they come up all the time. They're here a lot. But yeah,
I didn't know that.
they just moved to Texas about a year and a half ago.
Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But they're killing it. So,
Yeah.
well, good for them.
Yeah, doing good.
Other things on selling, I know there was something else that I was going to bring up. Whatever it was.
Okay.
Yeah. There is way you can do an installment sale. So you don't sell this can reduce your initial tax burden.
Sure.
And you essentially sell 20% of the business to them every year. Now, that might make sense if you get along good with the person, but at the end of the day, if the business starts to fail, now you
Right.
own 40% of the business, or you still own 80% of the business, and they've driven it into the ground in a year.
Right. You're in
But they're the
trouble.
one in control.
Yeah.
Now you're in trouble.
Right.
So you might, like, if you're doing that, maybe that makes sense if you're selling real estate along with it, and you sell the real estate on an installment contract or something. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
if your biggest concern is taxes up front, that's a solution.
Yeah. Which I guess if it was a large enough deal, that would be a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not enough money in it for us. We just wanted to frick out.
You were done.
We were done. So,
Yeah. All right.
all right.
That's all we got.
Bye, guys.
Join us on Facebook at the Jobless Legion, or subscribe to our YouTube channel and like, comment, and share.
So that we can get the message out to aspiring entrepreneurs just like you.
Thank you.